Ah, my delightful audience. You've come here thinking this is another night, another voice in the dark, another collection of words that tries to light your fire or stir your gut for a moment before you fall asleep in the same doubt-ridden bed you woke up in. But no, you feel it, don't you? The shift in the air, the burn behind the eyes, the itch under your skin. The moment you heard the title, people can't believe this How did you know already? And they can't even speak. You knew something inside you was about to wake up. And not everyone is going to like what they see once you do. Because here's the secret they never told you, the one that kept them safe while you drowned in your own silence. You were never meant to wait for permission, never meant to ask for approval. You were born into a world that profits off your hesitation and feeds on your fear. Every time you said not yet, they exhaled in relief. Every time you whispered maybe, they whispered good. But not now, not anymore. Because now you're the one staring into the void, and it's staring back with your eyes. They can't believe what you've done, because they were never built to see someone like you. Someone who didn't need applause to move. Someone who heard the silence and translated it into clarity. You see, when you start walking a path no one handed you, they panic. When you rise without permission, it doesn't just confuse them, it terrifies them. Because the system is designed for sleepwalkers, not stormbreakers. You knew already. You saw the cracks in the wall while they were still admiring the paint. You smelled the smoke before they even felt the heat. You heard the storm whispering your name while they drowned in the silence of their own mediocrity. And when you moved, when you acted, they froze. Like statues in a dream they can't wake from. Because when you finally rise, it's not just motion, it's a reckoning. You weren't supposed to know. That's what burns them most. You weren't trained in their schools. You weren't blessed by their institutions. You didn't get the invitation to the gilded halls. And yet, somehow, here you are, dragging greatness out of the dirt with blood on your hands and madness in your eyes. How did you know already? Because pain is the greatest prophet. Hunger is the greatest teacher. And isolation is the most honest mirror you'll ever face. They can't speak because the truth chokes them. Your existence is a mirror they can't stand to look into. You expose the lies they told themselves to feel comfortable, that it's okay to wait, that safety is noble, that staying quiet keeps the peace. You destroy all that with your presence alone. You're a walking contradiction, a breathing offense, a living, screaming example of what happens when someone decides they're done kneeling and they can't even form the words because their entire vocabulary was built on compliance, not chaos. But you, you're chaos dressed in skin and purpose. You're entropy walking with intent. That's what makes you dangerous. That's why they'll deny you, doubt you, dismiss you, and one day try to destroy you. Because you didn't just break the rules, you ignored them. You saw their map and burned it. You heard their warnings and laughed. You tasted the fear, swallowed it, and spat it back in their faces. There will be moments when you're alone. So alone, the silence feels like a scream. When you question if any of this is worth it. And that's when you must remember. This is the cost of being the first to move. The world doesn't reward pioneers with comfort. It pays them with scars. And the deeper the scar, the louder the legacy. You already knew, didn't you? That's what makes you unbearable to them. You didn't need the signs. You were the sign. They think you're lucky, that somehow you stumbled into this. But luck doesn't build calluses. Luck doesn't bleed. What you did, what you're still doing, it's war. It's rebellion. Every breath you take is an act of defiance. And still, they ask, How did you know already? As if intuition is magic, as if your clarity was handed to you. They don't understand that clarity is earned in the trenches, where vision is carved through suffering, not taught in classrooms. They can't speak because truth tastes foreign to them. They've spent their lives in curated comfort, where lies wear perfume and smiles are rehearsed. But you've lived in rawness. You've felt the cold bite of reality against your neck, and that pain sharpened you. It made you precise, focused, ruthless. So when you enter a room and don't shrink, when you speak and don't flinch, they shatter. Quietly, completely. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Let them call you insane, arrogant, obsessed, because that's what they say when they realize they can't stop you. Obsession is just another word for clarity to those who can't bear the weight of commitment. Arrogance is what they call unshakable conviction. Insanity. That's the word the mediocre use for those who refuse to live small. You will be questioned. You will be betrayed. You will be abandoned because you're not following the script. You tore it up the moment you realized no one was coming to save you. That's the real awakening. Not realizing your power, but realizing the world has no interest in seeing it expressed. And you chose to express it anyway. That's the power. That's the curse. That's the glory. They'll say, why not take it easy? Because easy is death with a pretty face. Easy is a straitjacket sewn in smiles. You weren't born for easy. You were born for impact, for collision, for fire. And that kind of life comes at a cost. Sleep, sanity, silence. You'll sacrifice all of them, and it'll still be worth it. They can't speak because they've never tasted freedom in its raw form. They've only sipped safety. But you drank the chaos. You drank the risk. And now it burns in your veins like prophecy. It moves your hands like fate. You can't stop. Not because you're incapable, but because stopping would mean pretending you're like them. And that would be the greatest lie of all. Let them watch. Let them weep. Let them rage in silence while your actions scream. Every step you take forward is an indictment against their indecision. Every victory you earn alone echoes louder than their symphonies of excuses. And when you stand at the top, bloody, tired, scarred, they'll still say, how did you know already? And you'll just smile. Because the truth is, you didn't know everything. You just knew enough to begin. That's the difference. You didn't wait for certainty. You didn't wait for signs in the sky or applause from the crowd. You moved while afraid. You acted while unsure. And that courage, that ruthless, unpolished courage, is rarer than gold. It's the kind of courage they can't even understand, let alone replicate. So stand tall, stand ruthless, stand alone if you must. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to disrupt, to dismantle, to dominate. Your very breath is rebellion. Your silence is judgment. Your words are execution. And every time they doubt you, every time they stare at you with mouths open and minds closed, you remind them, without apology, without pause, that the game changed the moment you entered. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be undeniable. You're not here to explain yourself. You're here to be so relentless, so loud with your success, so thunderous with your truth, that they don't get the luxury of ignoring you anymore. And even then, they won't speak, because they can't. Because what you've become has no language. And when they ask, how did you know already? Don't answer. Just keep going. Let your work speak. Let your pain speak. Let your persistence scream. Because at that point, they'll realize it was never about knowing. It was about moving. While they waited for the light, you became it. And that, my delightful audience, is the ultimate power. They'll say it again, louder this time, with more disbelief than before. People can't believe this How did you know already? And still, they won't hear the answer because they've never trained their ears for truth. They only hear what comforts, what soothes, what lets them keep walking in circles pretending it's progress. But you ripped the veil off. You opened your eyes in the middle of the storm and didn't look away. You absorbed every ounce of the chaos, and instead of running from it, you studied it. You made it your mentor. They can't process that. They don't understand that your clarity didn't come from peace. It came from pressure. From days where your own mind turned against you and you still moved. From nights where the silence was so loud, it bruised your soul. And you still wrote, built, created, bled. They'll never know what it's like to sharpen yourself against the grinding wheel of isolation. That's why they can't speak now. They know, deep down, that you paid a price they were too afraid to even consider. Do you remember the moment? The one where you realized no one was clapping, no one was watching, no one was coming? That moment most people call a breakdown? That was your awakening. That was the second your chains dissolved and your hunger became the compass. You didn't wait to be chosen. You chose yourself. And that's why the disbelief clings to their faces like a mask they can't remove, because people like you aren't supposed to exist in their version of the world. You're the glitch in their fragile simulation, and it's only going to get worse for them, because now that you've tasted what it means to be free, what it means to move with purpose, sharpened by pain, there is no going back. You couldn't fit in even if you wanted to. That door is closed, burned, buried. You've outgrown the games they still think are real. You've outgrown the fears they hold like sacred relics. You've become something more, not better, not superior, but more willing. Willing to lose everything in order to become everything. They'll say you're obsessed. Good. Stay obsessed. Obsession is the only thing louder than fear. They'll say you're too intense. Excellent. Let your intensity be a weapon they can't defend against. They'll whisper behind your back, jealousy disguised as concern, failure wrapped in advice. Let them. Their words are paper. Your will is steel. Their doubt is static. Your vision is war. Because here's what they'll never say out loud. They don't hate you. Not really. They hate themselves for not being you, for knowing, deep in the rotting core of their hearts, that they could have, should have, but didn't. And now, it's too late. Because while they were crafting excuses, you were forging legacy. While they were sleeping, you were scheming. While they were praying for signs, you were becoming the sign. So when they say they can't believe it, nod. Not because you agree, but because their disbelief is proof. Proof that you've evolved past recognition. And when they ask how you knew, smile. Smile like a ghost that's already buried its past. Because you knew the way all visionaries know. By being willing to be wrong until you were right. By being willing to move in the dark again and again until the darkness surrendered. They don't speak because they've realized they have nothing to offer someone who doesn't need their permission. Their power only works on those who wait. You didn't wait. That was your crime. That was your revolution. That was your rebirth. And now they're mute, paralyzed by the weight of their own wasted time. You kept going when they quit. You whispered truth when they screamed lies. You ran through fire while they bathed in comfort. And now your very existence is proof that all their excuses were made of smoke. No wonder they can't look you in the eyes. You're holding up a mirror and forcing them to see their reflection without the filter of fantasy. This is where it gets dangerous. Because now they know you're real, not a fluke. Not a lucky break, not a one-time spark, but a wildfire, uncontrollable, unapologetic, unrelenting. They will come for you, not to praise you, but to contain you. They'll dress it up, call it opportunity, call it feedback, call it collaboration. But it's a cage, a coffin with velvet lining. You know better now. You've seen the bars behind the smiles. Keep walking. Let their silence grow louder. Let their disbelief feed your fire. Let their confusion become your momentum. Because you are not here for them. You are here for you. For the version of you that almost gave up. For the voice inside you that once whispered, there has to be more, and was right. You owe that voice everything, and it's time to repay it with fury. You knew already because you listened to the quiet, because you didn't need to be told what your purpose was. You remembered it, deep in your bones, before the world beat it out of you, before they tried to trade your fire for approval. You remembered, and now they can't forget you, even if they never say your name, even if they pretend they don't see you, even if they try to erase you. You're already carved into their memory. Every moment you refused to quit, every breath you took when you weren't supposed to be breathing anymore, every time you stood up when everything around you said stay down, it's burned into their conscience like a scar. This is only the beginning. You've stepped onto a path with no map and no destination, only direction, forward. And in this place, there are no medals, no parades, no handshakes, only results. Only the raw echo of your own will colliding with reality until one of them bends, and it won't be you. So if you ever feel that old weight creeping back in, the doubt, the loneliness, the question of why me, remember this moment. Remember their silence. Remember how they couldn't speak when you rose, how they couldn't believe it when you acted, how they still can't understand why you're winning. That silence is your music now. Learn to love it, dance in it, drown in it, and come back stronger. They can't believe this shut. Let them choke on their disbelief. You knew already. Let that be your crown. They can't even speak. Let your silence be your war cry. And when the dust settles and the world finally turns its face toward the truth, you'll be there, not waiting for praise, not begging for recognition, but standing tall, unbroken, undeniable. And that, my delightful audience, is the purest kind of vengeance. And still they watch you, don't they? From a distance now, quiet and confused, praying that maybe this was a phase, a fluke, a burst of fire that would soon die down and leave behind just ashes. But the fire didn't fade. It evolved. It became hunger. It became discipline. It became focus, forged by hell itself. They thought time would slow you down, that isolation would break you, that the weight would eventually bury you. And maybe, for a second, it almost did. But you learned how to carry it. You made pain a partner, turned suffering into strategy. You let the silence become a forge. You let the loneliness hollow you out until only your mission remained. And what was left of you wasn't broken. It was reborn, a creature of clarity, a force they never prepared for. Not trained by institutions, not guided by comfort, trained by the world itself, guided by the burn. They can't process that. They don't understand how someone who had nothing could become someone with everything that matters. Not trophies, not titles, but power, vision, precision, the kind of internal gravity that bends reality around it, the kind of presence that speaks louder than their entire existence. That's why they don't speak anymore. They know now, words don't work on you, threats don't move you, doubt doesn't touch you, because you already walked through the gates of hell, and you made it your home. You're the one they whisper about now. the anomaly, the disruption, the blueprint they're too afraid to follow, but too obsessed to ignore. And as much as they act like you don't exist, they watch. Every post, every move, every victory, quietly, desperately, trying to figure out what code you cracked, what spell you cast, what shortcut you found. But there was no shortcut. That's what breaks them the most. You earned this. Every inch, every scar, every moment of clarity cost you more than they're willing to pay. You suffered in silence. You rose in solitude. You bled for progress when they wouldn't even bleed for purpose. You kept going when everything inside you begged to stop. And that's why you can't be replicated. So now they stay silent. Because to speak would be to admit the truth, that while they were building comfort, you were building kingdom. That while they were building ego, you were building empire. And they can't stand the idea that the person they doubted, the one they ignored, the one they mocked, is now the storm rewriting their world. You knew already, before the signs, before the results, before the followers. You knew before there was proof, because you didn't need validation. You had vision. That's what they'll never understand. That's what separates you from them. They move when it's safe. You move because you know safety is the slowest form of death. You were never waiting for the green light. You were dragging the entire road behind you, brick by brick, with your bare hands, screaming into the void and daring it to scream back. And now that the path is paved, they want to walk it, like they were always beside you. Let them try. The path is yours, but the fire was never for them. Only those willing to burn earn the right to carry it. So keep burning. Burn through every doubt. Burn through every room too small for your presence. Burn through every rule built to contain you. Don't dim it for them. Don't shrink to be understood. Don't soften just to be accepted by people who couldn't survive a single day in your mind. Because now, the question they ask isn't even about you anymore. It's about themselves. How did you know already? What they mean is, why didn't I? And that truth echoes louder than any answer you could give. Let them sit with that. Let it haunt them. Let your existence be the reminder they can't forget. They can't believe this shit. Because you're living proof that everything they told themselves to stay safe was a lie. They can't speak. Because every time they try, they choke on the realization that you did it without them, without their permission, without their blueprint, without their applause. And you don't need to speak either. You don't need to shout, because now your presence is prophecy. Now your silence is thunder. Now your breath moves mountains. You were not built to impress. You were built to impact. You were not born to ask. You were born to take. This is your time. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you took it anyway. So walk forward. Not fast, not loud, just inevitable, with the calm certainty of a storm that already knows it's going to win. Let them stare. Let them stay silent. Let them sit in the ruins of the world they thought was real, while you continue building the one they said was impossible. And when the day comes, because it will come, when they finally dare to approach you, eyes wide, voices trembling, and ask you that final, stupid, sacred question, how did you know already? You don't answer. You walk away, because legends don't explain themselves.